Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis, your host. Today we have a wonderful little story to share with you that actually redeems the fact that sometimes that we live our lives and change to such a degree that there's a way that we have to be as we get older. Well, somebody decided to break that paradigm and write a book about an adventure that does just that, breaks those chains. Joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is author of the book, The Black Man, the Jewish Lady, and the Road Trip, and it sounds juicy to me, and we're going to explore just exactly what this lovely adventure was all about and what it means to us to actually re-explore what it was like in our youth to just recklessly and abandonedly just go out and seek whatever seems to kind of get our go. Joining us here on the program is author of the book, Carol Sue Grishman, and thank you for joining us here on the program today, Carol.
Thank you, Daniel. A pleasure to be here.
I love your website. It's full of pink.
What is it about pink?
I guess that's the passion color I take.
Oh, my goodness. What is it about pink? I don't know. We just love it, us girls.
Now, as I was reading through the book, one of the things that struck me really, as I would call the theme, is that you were just truly saying, you know, I know that my family, my friends, they think of me as I'm getting older, but I don't feel like I'm ready to just pull the dirt over my head just quite yet. And there are a lot of things that I want to explore and experience, and that's certainly what this book is all about.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what it is about. I live agelessly. And it's not about telling my age or hiding my age, because I'm very happy to tell you that I am 73. Mm-hmm. What I mean is that I do whatever it is that I want to do, and I pay absolutely no attention to how old I am or what might fit the mold of somebody that is my age. And I compare it to when I was married with children in my 20s and 30s and early 40s. That's exactly how old I was at that time. We all conform to our age and era, us wives and moms. We brought up our kids, we listened to our husbands, and I'm going to tell you that I remember saying and thinking that at 30 I was old.
Mm-hmm. You know, and that's so key, because it seems, and I remember even having that experience when I was in my 20s, approaching 30, thinking, man, I should have a lot more going on in my life than I do. It's almost as though we preset these stages of where we're supposed to be. And so when you take a look at presumed behavior by 50, 60, 70 years old, it's as though society has put the first chain on us that says, you're supposed to be retired, you're not supposed to take any risks, the end is near.
That's exactly right. And I must say that I just don't pay any attention to all of that. I know women, they become 50 years old and they cut their hair. Not because they think, not because they want to. They just think that that is the way they should look, that it's not nice to have long hair when you're past a certain age, or it isn't right to wear a certain look even if you like it. And they're not considering that it looks good on them or not good on them. They are only thinking of how old they are. And for that reason, they won't do this or that. And I've never thought about myself in that way.
Now, what I like as you talk about your travels is that you were someone who really didn't have a compass. You just knew that you would go to a country, and you've been to a lot of countries around the world, but as you discovered, to see the whole world would be very difficult to do in a single lifetime. So you would find yourself, in a place, and you didn't typically hang with the crowd. You just kind of were there into the city or wherever it may be, and then you would just go exploring. And that's a wonderful way to adventure. I know myself, I go by that same philosophy, just go with the flow of what they normally do during the course of a day.
It's such a chore to plan a trip. And and truly, most of the time it doesn't work out anyway. You might book a hotel, and you'll get to the hotel, and you don't like the hotel. What do you do when you prepaid it? It's not anything that I ever wanted to face. So I would buy a plane ticket knowing, of course, the country that I'm going to, maybe even the city, but that's it. I would get off the plane, or the train or whatever it might be at the time, and I just find a place to sleep. Once you find a place to sleep, you find a place to eat. you want to explore because you're so excited about seeing a new town. So you just follow your footsteps and see what's out there without having any particular plan. And if I didn't like that hotel, I could move to another hotel. And that's how I enjoy traveling, just being free, because that's what travel is. It's a new experience, and why conform? And once I get on the road, I'm just so young and free, and it's a wonderful thing, a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, you described a friend of yours that did quite a bit of traveling and a self-described vegetarian, I believe, and that she just had a way of being able to have things work out to where she could almost literally travel without money, and somehow things would just work out for her. And we've had that on the show many times where people travel, for instance, to other countries, and you come to realize that, for one, it's not as expensive as it sounds, which holds a lot of people back from exploring anything, but that how well other citizens of other cultures and nations will take you in, the kind of courtesy that they extend as well.
Well, she is an amazing person, and I must say I could not do what she does, because she literally went without any money whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And somehow she would find her way by putting a hammock up on a porch or hotel, or I don't even know what she did, but she did it, and she's still doing it, by the way. We're exactly the same age. We're two weeks apart, I think it is. She has always amazed me, even with all of my travels and how free I think I am. She really is free, not knowing ever where she's going to sleep or where she's going to eat. But I suppose with her, she's just made a lifestyle out of it, and she totally knows what she's doing, and it's never failed. It's foolproof.
Now, I like to, as we begin to talk about the relationship that you had with Xavier in your book, The Black Man and the Jewish Lady and the Road Trip, is that it reminded me of a time when I was on a sort of a day-and-a-half trip. A friend of mine and I went out to Mount Shasta, and we figured rather than really breaking a sweat and coming all the way back to Portland, that she had a friend that was actually in Ashland or just outside of Ashland, so we decided to stay with her. And this was a lady that was probably right around 54, 55 years old and living by herself, very attractive. And she, I guess, had a boyfriend or someone that she was seeing or involved with at the time. And he had called while we were sitting there in the kitchen. And it was interesting to hear her attitude, because I thought, okay, so this is what it's like when women mature and they're single and they're independent at the same time, because she had made a statement such as, no, I'm fine, you don't have to come over and rescue me. And it was interesting to hear how needy the guy sounded and how independent she was. And that really came through in your book, especially with the relationship between you and Xavier, is that you had this beautiful independence, but this yearning to be together at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, that is what we were about. And he would often say to me, do you know what I like about you? That you don't place demands on me, that I don't have to just live up to being a certain image of yours. And we just loved giving each other that kind of freedom. So it really worked for us. But if you continue with my book, you will see a big change that comes from all of that independence. Because I became very obsessed with this person.
First you're kind of pushing him away, and saying, no, just on our terms.
I was Miss Independent until I told him that I was going to leave for 2 months and go to Africa. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like that very much. Mm-hmm. And he also didn't want to go for whatever reason that he had. That I don't know what that reason is to this day. Mm-hmm. But he began to pull back from my life, knowing that I was going to be leaving for 2 months. And wow, obsession sure did set in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was no longer that little, oh, don't bother coming over, I'm fine person.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that might have been? As you said, you're not really sure the reasons, but why it was that you felt that kind of drifting, if you will, and then the obsession at the same time.
Well, it was so easy for me, our relationship, and I always thought he would be there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I did. I didn't think that there was going. In fact, I don't want to give too much of my book away because it's so many things, my book.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you that I went to New York with him, and my daughter said to me, well, how are things going? I said, oh, wonderful. I said, there's absolutely nothing that would break us up that I could see. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that changed too. So one never does know. We can never be sure of ourselves.
Isn't that true no matter what age we are?
Oh, goodness gracious, absolutely.
Now, it's interesting, Carol, because, as you roll the way back clock and you begin to see interracial relationships which have been going on for decades, for instance, but that it became a little more socially acceptable into the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and now it seems in some ways to be more mainstream, almost expected that you'll see this happening. But even so, what were some of the things that you faced that you didn't expect as you were in this interracial relationship with Xavier? Because I know one of the most interesting things that you talked about is that whenever the two of you were together within groups, he seemed to really talk a lot about, I guess, the black experience, if you will.
Yeah. Well, first let me backtrack a little bit and just tell you, what did I find to be so what was the question that you
It was more like, the unexpected experience.
Okay, the unexpected
that you would have.
for me was how divine and delicious this man was.
Mm-hmm.
That was the very most unexpected for me. But yes, in a crowd, not a crowd, but if we were having dinner with other couples, I did see that he would rant a lot about being black and proving certain points, and I never could understand why he would make such a statement when we were just out for a social evening.
Mm-hmm.
But he had something inside of him that wanted people to know. I mean, we already had accepted, oh, goodness, I'm just going to get lost in what I'm trying to say now. But I never did understand why he felt it so necessary to make a point when we already totally accept black people. Look what's happened to our country now with our new president. Such a wonderful change, such a wonderful thing. My book is so timely also.
Mm-hmm.
But I did find, even 4 years ago, that it was hard for me to cross the racial boundary because of my upbringing.
Well, tell us about that, because being Jewish typically lends at least to the perception that, you have large family, there's a lot of tradition, you generally stick with that tradition within the family. Talk about that and how this was in a lot of ways really kind of a challenge for you, because you're looking at the whole instead of just yourself, for instance.
Absolutely. I grew up in a small town, Bayonne, New Jersey. There were 100,000 people. There was one high school where all races and creeds attended. But after school, my life was with the Jewish people. And I remember one young girl, a Jewish girl, out of 3 sisters. There were 3 sisters. The older one was breathtakingly beautiful. The middle sister was very pretty. The last sister, the young sister, was plump, had no charisma, but she set the town on fire because she took up at that time in the 50s with what we referred to as a colored guy. Mm-hmm. And her parents were disgraced. My girlfriend was mortified, and us kids could not believe the disgrace she was bringing to her family. That is the mentality that I grew up with, even though I had many black girlfriends at the time, but certainly never, ever to think about having a black boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, even 4 years ago when this took place, difficult for me to cross the racial boundary, and that might not surprise you or any of your listeners because of my upbringing. And yes, there were friends that I was embarrassed to tell. And a couple of these friends would say, "Oh, my God," and they would laugh. It amazes me now that that was only 4 years ago, because I've grown to such a different dimension in my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can see, for instance, as you're taking a look at the situation that stretches you beyond yourself of an interracial relationship, but you know that is an extreme. But how the light challenges of the way that society views aging and what you're supposed to be doing can be difficult for them to even cross those lines and really have that life that they have.
Do you know that most women do not go out by themselves at all? They won't go to a movie by themselves. They won't go out for dinner by themselves. They just don't. They don't feel comfortable, and that absolutely amazes me. And I'm not just talking about my contemporaries. I'm talking about women in general. Just don't venture out by themselves. I find that to be quite amazing, because our own company is wonderful. We learn so much from our own selves by being alone and by not sharing that particular day. I mean, if you sit down in a restaurant, you'll see things that you never saw before because you were always focused on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So women stay in their own molds. I find that to be very true. And when they get to be 60, 70, my age, they're already settling in. They're settling into doctors, going to doctors, their new social life. They talk about medications, medicating themselves, saddening, sitting, not really being that active. And it's mainly because they think they're getting older. And we all have such talents inside of ourselves that are dormant. Look at me. I'm a writer. I never knew that was possible. Never knew that was possible. So I really say to the women who think that their lives are just going to be the way that they are, that there are so many new adventures ahead, and to go deeply inside of yourself and think about what it is that is your passion. And don't let age stop you, because it's really our spirits that count.
Very well said, Carol. It makes me think of, the question that we tend to somehow, through patterning and growing up, that we begin to enlist in beliefs that sustain us, that we believe sustain our lives anyway.
That's
but
right.
Yet we never sometimes question the beliefs that hold us back from the things that we feel most passionate about. Now, I can see where, as you decided to cross the racial barrier with this man that you just couldn't get enough of, Xavier, quite a cowboy in his own right, if you will. But the fact is that you were testing a belief or challenging a belief. How did that unlock a lot of other passions for you?
It practically unlocked everything.
I could imagine it would, because this is one of those serious belief boundaries, as you said, growing up in family in the neighborhood, but you never would fathom having a relationship perhaps outside of your own race.
Yes.
And crossing something like this could really open the floodgates. Well, if I could do this and feel great about it, imagine what else I could do.
Well said. And it seems to be the way my life is unfolding now. There isn't anything that I find that I won't say that there's nothing that I wouldn't do or anything like that.
You're getting a little too courageous.
Yeah, that's
Carol.
a little bit too much. But I'm so much more, I think the most change in me, I'm so much more of an open person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll talk to anybody about anything. My book is quite sexy, you know.
Well, I was going to get to that eventually,
okay.
but we didn't know if we had a rated G audience going on here. But no, risque it is, and sexy it definitely is, but it's certainly not, so.
No, it's life. It's what happened. And I'll tell you a funny story too, because I loved writing about our sexy escapades when I was writing the book, and I read a draft to one of my girlfriends, and she said to me, "You're going to write about that?" And I said, "Well, yeah." She says, "That you're a mom, you're a grandmother. What are your kids going to think?" And I was taken aback. And I thought, oh, my God, what are they going to think? So I went right to my therapist. And had he said to me, well, your girlfriend is right, I would have stopped writing what I was writing about us, our personal marvelous tricks. So he said to me, Carol Sue, this is your story. This is your life. This is your passion. And if you want to go write about it, you're talking about yourself. You're not hurting anybody else. So I was very relieved, and I continued writing. And when the book was published, I crossed off all of the naughty parts for my own kids. And as far as my grandkids are concerned, well, maybe they'll learn a thing or two of what old Grandma was about.
That old Grandma is sitting in a chair by a fireplace, dinner's done, baking a pie, sewing up socks, nothing exciting about that. Can I go out and play, Grandma?
Oh, God. Well, I have a son that just would dream to have that kind of a mom. I never fulfilled his dream of a mom.
So how did your kids approach you about this relationship, and what were their common questions? And, did they ever feel, I guess, threatened by what you were doing in some ways?
No, by this time they were very used to me. I mean, even though Xavier...
Used to you. Okay, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, while Xavier was my first black experience, for sure, I've been single for many, many years, so they are not shocked by me in any way, and they accept me, which is a wonderful thing. And as far as him being black, they accepted that too. My kids are worldly, they're sophisticated. It's how we brought them up, and they found it great. They liked him very, very much. He was a very cool guy, is a very cool guy.
Now, do the two of you still see each other? Or?
Well, that you'll have to read my book about.
Yeah, see, I'm trying not to give too much of it away there, but there are those
and
questions.
May I just say one thing? It's called The Jewish Lady, the Black Man and the Road Trip, rather than The Black Man, the Jewish Lady and the Road Trip.
Okay, I was just kind of reading it as it was on the cover here, I guess. Okay, gotcha. The Jewish Lady, the Black Man, and the Road Trip. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Just kind of reverse those there. And our guest joining us today, Carol Sue Gershman. Now, it's a fun book. It really shows that sometimes we live too much in a pattern, and then we wonder why we just don't seem to have a passion, or we don't set goals anymore for ourselves. And after years of that, creating that habit, you wonder if there's any way out of it. And certainly you challenged not only some really solid beliefs and changed those, but you found your passion unlocked too. So did you find that beliefs, just for the most part, that didn't serve you were easy to kind of push away after this?
Absolutely. Yes. So many of my old beliefs are no longer part of my life. My life is very exciting now. It's very new, and it's very different to me. As I said, I did not know I was a writer. And what's interesting about it, too, Daniel, is that I'm getting rave reviews. And I'm getting women calling me and asking me questions. And I spoke with a group of ladies last week in someone's home that all read my book, and they were very excited about some of the things that I had to say. So yes, doors have just opened up, flung open for me in so many different directions.
Well, one thing I can certainly applaud you on is that in this day and age where being politically correct seems to be the safe order of the day to keep you from being sued or whatever the case is, you just put it right there in the title of your book, The Jewish Lady, the Black Man, and the Road Trip. So what compelled you just to go for the direct hit here?
Well, exactly what you said. I didn't even think about it. It is truly what the book is. I am a Jewish lady. He is a black man. And we went on a road trip. And I'll be honest, I didn't even think about it. It just came out one day.
Uh-huh. And did you find that when you went to publish it that people kind of questioned, are you sure you really want to do this? Or
You mean about the title?
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. I had people that did not want to review the book because they didn't like they didn't feel that it was a title they wanted to touch. There are yes, it does chase people away, but it brings just as many come to me because of the title. Mm-hmm. So so far I haven't changed it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that we also get to be in a course, again, as I mentioned, about being politically correct and how we're raised in particular beliefs about courtesies, is that we become afraid of just telling the truth as it is. And why we become afraid of that, that fear can linger with us to keep us from ever doing anything that we ever want to find ourselves doing. And so that's where I applaud you there for bringing something like your book out, because it also challenges the beliefs about aging, especially, that, it ain't over until it's over with, so
Absolutely.
What are you doing wasting time?
And also sex. People, young people never think that older people, such as myself, have sex. Mm-hmm. I remember my grandmother. She was married 3 times. And we would say, do you think they do anything? Well, if my grandmother was anything like this grandmother.
So I'm sure the younger community is definitely saying, as you've well written in your book, is it enjoyable? Is it as passionate as was when you were younger? And I think that as you get older, it's a lot better because of the patience that you have, the time that you spend together, the erotic feeling that you can stir that just stays with you from minute to hour, versus, okay, let's get this over with and go get some ice cream.
You better believe it. We're less inhibited. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, that's absolutely true. And I hope that people learn, women, men learn, that senior sex is here to stay and could be a lot more passionate and exciting and fulfilling than it is when you're young.
I'm reminded of the movie Cocoon.
Oh my God! Am I that old? I don't think so.
No. But what was funny in the movie is how the older gentlemen were running to the pool, and one of them was saying, "I got a hard on."
Oh, right.
And then later in the movie, the guy pats the mattress, and his wife is like, "Really?"
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
And I just thought it was so cute, And I was in my 20s when the movie came out, and I thought, that's sweet.
Well, that was nice. You're compassionate and open.
Yeah,
exactly. Lovely.
So what project do you see yourself coming up with? Is there another book in the works here? Or?
Oh, I will write another book, no question about it. Not quite ready yet, even though I have thought about the book that I would like to write. Right now I'm very busy marketing this book, getting it out there. It is a self-published book, and it is not easy to do. So I am quite successful in a lot of speaking engagements. Bookstores are carrying it, and of course I won't be satisfied till I go to Hollywood and it's on the big screen knowing me.
Well, that's just one more wonderful goal to go after.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think so. So, yes, it keeps me quite busy, and I'm loving every single moment of the opportunities and the doors that it's opening for me. As a matter of fact, just to say this, I told my daughter that I am spending a certain amount of money on promoting my book, of course, and she said, well, what a wonderful education. And when she said that, I thought to myself, well, look what a college education costs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not spending nearly that much, and yet I have such a wonderful world that I'm learning about through my book, the education that I'm getting through it.
I know that's the same way I feel as we've been doing this program for the last 5 years. It's like, why go back to college?
Oh, see that? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sure you learn so much with every guest that comes on your show.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful.
Mm.
For those tuning in, we're talking with Carol Sue Gershman, and her book is The Jewish Lady, The Black Man, and the Road Trip. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the program to help do what we've been doing, which is to change the paradigm of how people see aging, because these are really truly the celebratory, or as even you said, the uninhibited years, and that's how everybody should be living, passionately, uninhibitedly, with no ends in sight. And we want to thank you for being on the program today to talk with us about this.
Thank you. Would I just be able to give you my website?
Absolutely. We let everybody do that here.
Okay. It's www.jewishladyblackman.com. And, of course, the book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and in selected bookstores.
Well, very good. And we want to thank you again, Carol, for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. It's been fun.
Thank you so very much.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to the Beyond 50 radio program, a very enjoyable story, The Jewish Lady, the Black Man, and the Road Trip, because beliefs are meant to keep you shackled down. Break those beliefs and get out there and move around. It'll be a lot of fun. You'll learn what passion feels like and see those unexpected things inside of you come out that you never knew that you had. I want to also encourage you to visit our website at beyond50radio.com. That's the number 50 with a 50, and sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter. We'd also like to thank the following sponsor for making this program possible. If you are suffering from hot flashes, foggy thinking, sudden weight gain, low libido, mood swings, and other effects of aging, ZRT Laboratory, the forerunner in hormone testing, is your first step to ending troublesome symptoms. Just simply visit ZRT Laboratory at www.zrtlab.com to find out how their home collection kits can help detect and correct hidden hormone imbalances. Let testing be your guide to symptom relief and life-changing solutions that begin with you. Thank you again for tuning in. Be sure to visit us again at our website at beyond50radio.com and sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter. I'm Daniel Davis. Remember, live your day past halfway.